As you may or may not already know, I could talk all day long about all of the reasons why I think reptiles make amazing pets. But in today's video, I want to talk about some of the reasons why I think you shouldn't get a reptile. My name is Pierce LaValle, this is Pierce's Planet, stick around. Yo, what is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you all are doing amazing. I am here with Hanzu, who is, like usual, cleaning my beard. And in today's video, yes, you heard it right, I'm going to be talking about reasons why I don't think that you should get a reptile as a pet. No, you are not in an alternate universe, and yes, I know, coming from me, that statement may be mind-blowing. But it's true. Reptiles are not perfect pets, and they are not for everybody. Personally, I believe that reptiles make amazing pets, and I do believe that everybody should experience owning a reptile at least once in their life. But like I just said, they aren't for everybody, and the reasons why they aren't for everybody is what I want to get into in today's video. Even though this is a top 5 list, the topics that I'm going to be talking about on this list are not ranked in any particular order. So without me rambling on about nothing for too long, let's just jump straight into it. The first reason why I think that you should not get a pet reptile is if you're someone who's looking for a little bit of love. Now, obviously, you personally are going to love your pet, but if you're looking for a pet that loves you back, reptiles are probably not the correct choice for you.
Don't you say that. Don't you ever say that.
Most reptiles would just prefer to be left completely alone, and a lot of them try to actively avoid human interaction. In fact, you'd probably overstimulate most reptiles by interacting with them too much. In the wild, majority of reptiles are solitary creatures. They aren't like your dogs who are pack animals or birds who are flock animals. Reptiles like to be left completely alone. Even when you do have a reptile that seemingly enjoys being handled or being interacted with, it's usually for one of two reasons. Either they enjoy the warmth of your body, because obviously us humans have warm body temperatures and reptiles are cold-blooded, or they are just simply tolerating you because you are the thing that brings them food. Just because a reptile is simply tolerating you does not necessarily mean that they actually like you. Now, I know that is a tough pill to swallow for us reptile keepers because we want our reptiles to love us, but unfortunately, that's just part of the reality of owning reptiles. So, if you're one of those people who wants to feel some love from your pet and you want to have some cuddle time and some kisses from your pet, I would suggest sticking with dogs and cats. And if you really want to get overstimulated with some love, then I would suggest going with a bird, because you will get all the love that you need from a bird. Trust me. Honestly, birds will give you like an annoying amount of love. Trust me on that. The second reason I think that you should not get a reptile is if you're someone who doesn't do well with unpredictability. Reptiles are much different than mammals and birds with respect to the fact that they don't show their emotions or how they're feeling much, if at all.
I'm feeling.
It's very hard to tell when most reptiles are happy, sad, stressed out, upset. They really don't show many signs. Now, there are some signs that you will pick up on the more you own reptiles, but for the most part, it isn't the same as dogs and cats. If a dog is angry, it might point its ears backwards or growl. If it's scared, it might tuck its tail between its legs. If it's hurt, it might start whimpering. Snakes, lizards, turtles, tortoises, and other reptiles, they don't show their emotions like that. Now, I'm not saying that reptiles are devoid of any emotion. They just show those emotions differently, and it can be harder to pick up on in a reptile. Some snakes may hiss when they're feeling angry or stressed out, but hissing isn't always an indicator of anger or stress. You just have to know that specific snake and know the species that you're dealing with. There have been plenty of times where I've been bitten by my yellow anaconda, and my yellow anaconda had shown no signs of being defensive, and just out of the blue, random bite. So I'm just saying it's a little bit harder to pick up on those signs, and to just be aware of that if you're not someone who likes unpredictability. Coming in at number 3, you should not get a pet reptile if you are not okay with live foods. Now I know this doesn't apply to all reptiles. There are some strictly vegetarian reptiles, but when it comes to most reptiles, they're either going to eat some form of live or whole prey. And to be honest, even some of the ones that are vegetarian aren't strictly vegetarian. Iguanas, for example, are vegetarian, but they will eat whole prey such as small mice if they are presented with it. And honestly, if it's given to them on occasions, it can be very beneficial to their health. But the reality is, for the majority of reptiles that you're going to come across, you're going to have to be feeding them some form of whole prey or live prey. And that can include anything from mice and rats to crickets and cockroaches and other insects. So it's just something that you're going to want to think about, because I know not everybody is okay with that. And you have to be okay with those prey items potentially escaping from time to time. Now, a little known fact about me, some of you may or may not already know this, but one of my biggest fears growing up, and even a little bit to this day, was crickets.
I'll bet a lot of you folks don't believe that.
I cannot stand crickets. I personally really just don't like insects that much as it is, but one of my biggest fears used to be crickets. And so that became a bit of a predicament for me whenever crickets would escape some of my reptile enclosures, and I would have to wrangle them back in and put them back in the enclosures. Now, I worked my way through that and eventually was able to muster up the courage to start grabbing crickets myself and putting them in my reptiles' cages. But at first, that was really hard for me. And I know, it's ironic. I can own all these reptiles. I can own lizards, snakes, get bit by snakes, lizards. But when it comes to insects, that's where I draw the line. But that's just how I was, especially growing up. And this rings true as well, but for different reasons when you talk about owning snakes. Because although you might be afraid of crickets or insects or think they're gross or not good to look at, when it comes to rats and mice, although you may have a fear of rats and mice as well, it's also a different sort of experience when you're feeding a snake, and especially if you're feeding them live and you have to feed them a live mouse or a live rat. It's not for the faint of heart. Obviously, it's a natural process and it's what happens in the wild, but as an owner and as an animal lover, to watch a snake kill a rat or kill a mouse is a really hard thing to do. And that's why I don't personally do it anymore. I only feed my snakes frozen thawed, but sometimes that's unavoidable and sometimes that's not an option, and you have to feed your snake live prey. So that's just something you want to think about before getting a snake, is if you would be able to handle watching your snake kill live prey. So if you want to own a reptile, you got to make sure that you're getting over that fear of creepy crawlies. The number 4 reason for why you should not own a pet reptile is because of lack of vets and specialized care. Yes, reptiles still need to go to the vet, especially if you want them to live long and healthy lives. But majority of vets do not specialize in reptiles. And depending on where you live, it can be really, really difficult to find a veterinarian that specializes in exotic animals such as snakes, lizards, turtles, tortoises, etc. And even if you do find a vet that specializes in those types of animals, a lot of times that vet bill can be even higher than a normal vet bill because it is such a specialty field. I know many people believe that you don't need to take reptiles to the vet, but that couldn't be farther from the truth. When I owned chameleons, I was constantly taking them to the veterinarian to get checkups and to figure out what was going on with them because they just had so many problems. If you want your animals to live a very healthy life, you need to be taking them into the vet to get checked on whenever there is something off about them. It's not fair to your pet if you see that your snake is acting funny or your snake has some sort of respiratory issue and you just leave it untreated because you think, well, it's a reptile. No, you want to take your reptile to the vet and get it the best care it can, because we want our animals to live the best lives that they could possibly live. So that's why I say, if you don't have a vet in your area that specializes in reptiles that you would be willing to drive to if your pet ever got sick, then you probably shouldn't get one. But if you are lucky enough to know of a veterinarian in your area that can work with reptiles, then I'd say go for it. And last, but certainly not least, the fifth reason why I think that you should not get a pet reptile is because of their lifespan. Now, I feel like this is becoming more and more of a common theme on this channel. I feel like I am constantly talking about reptile lifespans and making sure that you are doing your research on how long a specific reptile lives before bringing them home. But I do that because I do feel like it is something that is very, very important. When it comes to the majority of reptiles, they tend to live a very long time, especially when you're comparing that lifespan to the lifespans of things such as birds or dogs or cats. Most snakes and lizards, with the exceptions of maybe chameleons, can live to be well into their 20s, with many species being able to live well into their 30s. And don't even get me started on turtles and tortoises, with many species being able to live 50 plus years, and some species even having lifespans of 80 plus years. I mean, my sulcata tortoises are going to outlive me and are probably going to have to get handed down to my grandchildren one day. That's how long some of these species of reptiles live. So it's a big commitment, and if you aren't ready to make a long-term commitment like that, then a reptile probably isn't the right pet for you, and you might want to look into getting something like a pet rat, because pet rats only live about 3 years. Now, there are some exceptions to this. Like I said, chameleons don't have that long of lifespans. Some species of chameleon only live to be about 3 to 5 years old. But chameleons also have a very specific set of care requirements, which makes them pretty difficult to own, especially if you are a beginner. But for the majority of reptiles that you're going to encounter in the pet trade, they are going to have fairly long lifespans. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The reason why I bring this up is because if you go out and purchase a reptile and you aren't prepared for the commitment that it's going to take to own one for the long term, it's not fair to your pet. It's not fair that your pet might have to be given up at some point and could eventually fall into the hands of somebody that doesn't know how to take care of it. So if you're someone whose living situation might not be the most stable, or if you think that in a few years you're gonna wanna go and travel the world, then owning a reptile may not be for you. But if you are somebody who has done the research and you are ready to make the commitment to own a reptile for its entire life, then I say more power to you and go straight for it. By no means did I make this video to try to scare people away from owning pet reptiles. I just wanted to inform anybody who might be curious and to make sure that people know what they're getting into before they go out and make that purchase. At the end of the day, you guys already know this just by being on this channel, but I absolutely adore reptiles and I think that they make amazing pets. But in that same breath, I am also aware that they may not be for everybody, and that's why I decided to make this video. So if the things that I mentioned in this video don't apply to you at all, then I say go out and do it. Go get your snake, go get your lizard, your turtles, your tortoises, heck, get 10 of them if you want to. Because you can take my word for it, there are a lot more pros to owning reptiles than there are cons. So that is going to do it for today's video, you guys. Let me know down in the comments what you guys thought of this video, and was there anything that I should have added to the list? Make sure you guys like this video, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, and please, please, please share this video. Until next time, everybody, my name's Pierce LaValle, this is On Zoo, we are in Pierce's Planet, and remember, it's all about the reps, baby. Peace. As you may or may not, you want to kiss me? I'll kiss you, have a dab. But like I just said, it isn't for really. On my beard? You swinging on my beard now, huh? Swinging on my beard. That was actually pretty funny. You like that? How do you like it, huh? You see how annoying that is? Most snakes and chameleons, with the exception of most snakes and lizards, with the exception of maybe chameleons, can live to be. You see how annoying that is? You want attention? How about that?